For capital-intensive companies, enterprise asset management is one of the most important functions required to drive profitability and service for those organizations. But what exactly is enterprise asset management? That's what I'm going to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach their third stage of digital transformation success. And many organizations have assets that they work with. High value, high dollar assets that are required to build their product or service their customers or provide some sort of delivery for their organizations. In these capital intensive businesses, it's very important that they manage their assets effectively. And as you can imagine, the bigger the organization and the more money they have spent and sitting in assets, the more important it is that they get the most value out of those assets and they maximize the cost and value of those assets. For example, if you look at this crane right behind me, this is a high dollar asset that a construction company owns. This particular crane costs anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000, but some organizations have really big cranes that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Other organizations might have trucks, or manufacturing organizations have equipment and robotics within factory floors that help produce their products. So as you can see, a lot of organizations have high value products like this crane behind me. And in the case of this crane behind me, we've got to figure out how can we get the most value out of this crane and how do we extend the life of this crane so that we don't have to buy new ones too frequently. So that's really the purpose of enterprise asset management, is trying to determine how do we maximize the value we get out of our assets, how do we service them appropriately, and how do we ultimately drive lower costs and higher profitability for our organizations. First, it helps to understand the enterprise asset lifecycle. And when we think about any asset, there's a lifecycle involved. From the procurement of the asset, as in the case of this crane behind me, this is something that a construction company would acquire and procure. And then once they've acquired and procured it, then their responsibility becomes to maintain it. But in other cases, organizations need to build their assets. So you think about a manufacturing shop floor where they've got to build equipment or some sort of robotics that's highly customized and engineered for their manufacturing operations. So there's a whole design phase that's involved with designing and then building those assets. Once an asset is procured or built, then we have to think about how to maintain and repair and service that asset. So in the case of this crane, we've got to do oil changes. We've got to do other calibrations to this asset to make sure that it doesn't break or have a subpar life cycle to where we have to replace it earlier than we might if we had maintained it better. So this whole maintenance and repair operation is a really important part of asset management. And stay tuned, because in a few minutes, I'm going to talk more about maintenance and repair, as well as the technologies that can be used to enable enterprise asset management. Throughout the entire life cycle of any asset, from the build and the maintenance and repair of that asset, work orders and inventory management are really important. Because if you think about the maintenance that needs to happen on most equipment, especially less mobile equipment than the crane behind me. So in other words, think about a manufacturing robotic or other equipment that's used to run the shop floor. That sort of machinery is going to require ongoing maintenance and repair. So we're going to have ongoing work orders and service orders to help make sure that we stay on top of the maintenance and repair that's required for those assets. In addition, you also have tools and other sorts of disparate inventory that might be used to support the maintenance and repair of those assets. Another example is when you think about utilities or power companies, a lot of them are still using overhead cables to transmit electricity. And when there's repairs that need to be done, they need to send field crews with tools and other inventory to fix whatever problem might happen as a result of an outage, or it could be that they're doing more proactive maintenance that's going to require tools and inventory to support that job. So in order to do that effectively, this whole process I'm talking about here with work order management, we need technology and processes that enable us to be able to track not only the assets, but what inventory we might allocate to those assets to help fix them, repair them, or just maintain them. So that's why work orders and service order management is so important to enterprise asset management. Now, another big component of enterprise asset management is not just the assets themselves and all the equipment and materials and work orders that go with that asset, but there's also the labor and human capital component. So in other words, we have to assign crews or people to go fix whatever it is they're going to fix or to go maintain whatever it is they're going to maintain or repair. In order to do that, we need to schedule people. We need to assign the inventory and the tools to those people so that they can ultimately go out and do whatever work they're going to do on the asset out in the field. So as you can see, there's a lot of cross-discipline sorts of business processes that come together to support enterprise asset management. Obviously, human capital management, scheduling, and resourcing is a big part of it. In many cases, you have certain certifications or safety requirements required for any field crew or individual that goes out to repair or do work on an asset. So that's why enterprise asset management is so interesting and so complex, is because you're not only managing physical assets, but you're also managing the labor and the people and the scheduling and the certifications and skills behind it. In order to have effective enterprise asset management, we need good technology that can handle these complexities and manage all of these moving parts of the process. As I mentioned earlier, we need technology that can track work orders. We need technology that can track the design and build of the asset. We need technology that can track the repairs and the service orders that might come from the field. All of those processes are really important to supporting enterprise asset management. And then we also need to manage inventory and manage the people and the labor that are attached or associated with those enterprise assets. Now, there's multiple types of technologies that can help enable more effective enterprise asset management. You have standalone systems that focus solely on enterprise asset management. For example, IBM's Maximo is a leading enterprise asset management system, and there's several others out there that are pretty prominent as well. In addition, you have ERP or enterprise resource planning systems that do enterprise asset management fairly effectively, or at least some of them do. But they also do other things too. They can do supply chain management, financial and accounting, customer service, human capital management, other functions outside of asset management. But ERP software solutions are generally becoming more adept and more robust in their enterprise asset management needs. Now, regardless of which technology or what kinds of technology you might use to enable enterprise asset management, there's some emerging trends in the tech space that are really worth noting that are particularly important to enterprise asset management. One is this whole concept of predictive maintenance. And predictive maintenance is a technology and a process that enables you to anticipate when an asset might break or when the optimal time is for servicing or repairing an asset. In the example of a utility company, like a gas or electric company, those utilities will have tons of wires and pipes and other equipment that's dispersed widely across a wide geographic area. So it's impossible that they treat all the assets in the field equally. There's going to be certain assets that are used more often or have more pressure put on them. And there's other assets that are perhaps less likely to break or have repair issues. And so predictive maintenance allows you to anticipate where the assets are that are most likely to need service or repair prior to them actually breaking. So predictive maintenance is an important capability that technology can provide to organizations. In addition, Internet of Things is really transforming the way enterprise asset management works. So you have, for example, devices in the field on trucks and equipment and other places that can be capturing data about usage, potential problems, and that data comes back to a central repository or technology that helps you anticipate where the challenges might be. It helps you see what's happening in the field, track what's happening in the field, and prioritize your maintenance and repair and other asset management functions appropriately. And then finally, artificial intelligence is totally transforming asset management as well. Artificial intelligence is using all the data that's being captured in the field and within other data sources to help learn and anticipate where problems might be before they become problems. So these three technologies are examples of ways that new and emerging technologies are transforming the field of enterprise asset management. And these three technologies I just mentioned are things that are generally baked into ERP systems and standalone enterprise asset management systems as well. Now, for more information about enterprise asset management and digital transformation in general, I encourage you to download our 2023 Digital Transformation Report. It's a report we publish each year that covers independent reviews and rankings of different technologies to help enable organizations, as well as best practices from digital transformations throughout the world. So I encourage you to download that in the fields below. And I also included links to other assets and other materials that I think will be helpful to you in your transformation journey. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day. This is gonna be my roughest video, by the way. This is the one I was least prepared for. So okay. It's important that we have, throughout a widely dispersed area, I forgot what I was gonna say now, but there's also the human capital or the labor component of those, but there's also, let me start that over. I'm gonna start this whole thing over. I can't remember what I was saying, so I'll start over. Throughout the entire lives, jeez, I'm never gonna finish this video.